It's time for Spider-Man to get his revenge. And what's the best way to get revenge on those that have wronged you? Become your greatest villain, the Green Goblin. Let me explain. Norman Osborn had his sins removed by the Sin Eater. This made him a good guy, trying to work with Peter to correct his past mistakes. The sins of the Green Goblin were then injected into the Goblin Queen. She doesn't want to be evil, and she assumes that it's the sins of the Green Goblin causing her to be evil. So she has decided to hire Kraven the Hunter to remove the sins from her and put them back where they belong. This is Amazing Spider-Man 32, 33, and 34, and you have found yourself at Comicstorian, where I bring audio dramas of comic books. I act out the characters, we have a lot of fun here, and you know what you should be adding to your collection. Now let's get into it. There is a ritual that not many know of. One that traverses the deepest parts of one's being and pierces the darkness hiding within. The Queen lives, poisoned by the legacy of a dangerous man, and she lives to purge herself. But through it all, it was a success. She asks if it worked. Kraven lifts up the spear now containing the sins. Yes, the goblins sin imbue my weapon. You are free. She examines herself with her red skin and evil attire. She doesn't feel free. Maybe she will finally be free when these sins find their way home. As the ceremony is over, Kraven takes a moment to reflect. He is so much like his father, but he is not. His father used to keep his casket closed, hunting for a death worthy of him, but as the son, he will not follow him. The Goblin Queen whispers in his ear that his father was a selfish man. There is only one hunt that can make him whole, and his father took it for himself, but she has brought him away to prove himself better. His father became the spider, bested the spider's enemy to prove his worth. But his prey was weak, a pathetic rat. The Goblin Queen opens the casket to reveal a Green Goblin costume, telling Kraven that he will best the spider's greatest foe, but first he must restore his sins, and then kill him, while also freeing her, and in doing so, he will free himself. Now go, Kraven. Hunt. Later that night, Peter stops by the labs as Norman continues his work on an electric plasma engine. Norman turns to Peter. I figured you'd come. True. But I also knew you'd still be here, Norman. Norman rolls back in his chair, turning. I can't keep doing this. Do what? Peter asks him. And Norman gets up, telling Peter that he has been spending every free second with him, scanning his face for any signs of madness. He hired him to keep himself honest, but he doesn't appreciate just how completely Peter's taken on that burden. He's asked for too much. Peter looks at him. No, not too much. I would never want you to become... He shakes his head. No, the more I work with you, the more I recognize something familiar. The Norman Osborn I first met, the one who treated me like a son. And I'm beginning to think that that might be the real you. At that moment, there's a loud shunk as the power goes out. Norman looks around asking, a power loss? I've added a triple redundancy after Otto's attack. That means that if the system went out... Peter looks around. Yeah, it's bad. The two split up to grab their costumes, but as Norman goes for his, he finds dozens of spears dissecting it, and Kraven sitting there telling him that he has betrayed his glory with those rags. Norman asks, what is he doing here? And Kraven picks up his spear, telling him, I am here to enliven you, to make you whole once again. Soon Peter begins to rush down the hall, and when he sees both Norman and Kraven standing there, he realizes he might be too late, as Norman tells him, I'm sorry, I tried. And he closes the door. Kraven holds up the spear. I can respect a man who recognizes his fate, who knows what can't be stopped. Norman looks at him and says, maybe, but I'll be damned if I don't try. He takes a swing, hitting Kraven in the face, and Kraven steps back. The goblin stirs. Now let him out! The two begin to wrestle for power, but suddenly there's a low hum coming from the next room. The wall bursts open as the electric plasma blasts a hole in it, and Peter comes swinging in. The extinguishers try to turn on and minimize the damages, and through the fog, Peter can see Kraven holding the spear. Kraven begins to thrust the spear down to bring the sins back to the Green Goblin, but Peter throws himself in the way, taking the hit instead of Norman. Norman realizes what has happened, and he looks to Peter asking, what did you do? Kraven steps up staring, watching as the spider dies and is reborn. Peter begins to rip apart his mask and scream, and all Kraven can do is listen to his instincts. Run. The feeling is unmistakable. He is no longer hunting something. He is the hunted. As Peter lets out an insane laughter. Later, Kraven retreats to his safe haven, but it doesn't matter how far or fast he runs. He can hear the laughter in the back of his mind. He knew it would find him. He knew that it would try to take him, but seeing its face, he cannot run. He is Kraven the Hunter. He does not run. He will face the sins of his father. He will face the madness that took him. Kraven gets dressed and looks at his assortment of weapons. Were they always this heavy? Why can't he choose? He knows why. He doesn't want to be weighed down. He doesn't want to be slowed down. But his body knows he is prey. Out of the shadows, wearing the familiar old black costume, Peter Parker crawls out attacking. He sticks Kraven with a syringe, and Kraven can feel his blood boil. He looks back at the blurred image of Spider-Man, telling him, "You'd better get going." For a moment, Kraven ignores the guttural feeling. He is Kraven the Hunter. He does not. But that thought is immediately interrupted as Peter crushes the needle in his hand, screaming at Kraven. Run! Kraven turns and he runs out of his home as the lightning strikes, panting, thinking to himself that he is a gazelle, hobbled by his father's sins. He is Kraven, the hunted. But this is not the first time. He has felt the fear of every animal that he has taken. He has thought like them. He has become like them. He can be cornered, but not surprised. He can see. He hides away in a sewer, lightning striking again to reveal Peter Parker is there, but it's no use. The Spider-Man is too strong. Peter pins him down by the throat. I can't believe I was ever scared of you. I can't believe that I let you get away with what you did for all of those years, walking around like you didn't bury me alive. Kraven struggles to breathe. I am not my father. And Peter tightens his grip. You're close enough. He throws Kraven deeper into the sewer, but it wasn't because he couldn't handle him. Kraven knew. Spider-Man is toying with him, stalking him from above, stalking and hurting him. Kraven swims deeper into the muck and grime until he is below the city, crawling, doing anything he can to get away. For a moment, Kraven breathes, waiting until he hears his voice. You've gone far enough for the serum to work. Kraven yells that his blood is hardened by fire. He doesn't feel a thing. It wasn't supposed to work on you. At that moment, Kraven can hear the skittering behind him as dozens of vermin creep up on him, all whispering, something smells tasty, tasty. I needed you to work up a sweat, Kraven, so the pheromones could work their way through your body and attract friends. The vermin begin to hiss, shouting that he is the one who hit us, hurt us. No more. The rat-like creatures lunge out, grabbing and biting, and as Kraven fights back, he's already figured out what this is about. These were the vermin that his father bested. The spider brought him here to fail, where his father succeeded, all while Spider-Man is watching him. At first, Kraven is able to handle himself, but as more and more of them pile on, he is quickly overrun. As Kraven is about to give up, Peter reaches down, throwing the vermin off, and then they turn on him. And he reminds them who the superior creature is. As the vermin all run away and Kraven is barely alive, Peter grabs him by the vest, dragging him away. It's only a little while later that Kraven wakes up with the feeling of rain on his face. As he opens his eyes, he looks up out of the grave to see Peter tossing him his gun. In case you want to skip to the end. Kraven looks at the coffin that he is laying in. No. And Peter slams it shut. Peter laughs to himself in the storm. This turned out to be a pretty fine day. He begins to toss dirt on the hole, burying Kraven until there is nothing but blackness. Meanwhile, in another part of New York, Mary Jane is startled when her name is shouted when someone bursts into her apartment. Almost out of breath, Norman asks if she's okay. Why aren't you answering your phone? Paul gets up, telling him it's because they didn't want to be bothered. But MJ asks Norman if he's okay. He looks around. It's not me that I'm worried about. Quickly, start packing everything. We need to get off the island. You're in danger. MJ stops him. I could take care of myself now. I've got powers. I'm jackpot. What's gotten into you, Norman? Norman tells her that it's not about him. Something's gotten into Peter. Someone is trying to make him look unhinged. He might hurt people that he may have a grudge with, no matter how petty. Paul and Mary Jane look at each other. After a moment, they begin to collect their things. It's better to be safe than sorry. Paul thinks for a moment, stating that they can probably head upstate. The bridge will be moving faster at this time of night. But Norman stops them. No, take the tunnel. As the two of them leave, Norman waits in the apartment in the off chance that Peter might come by, still upset with the situation between him, MJ, and Paul. He takes a deep breath trying to calm himself, but as he reaches to turn on the light, he feels a presence. Norman spins back. Peter? Hey, Norman, have you seen Paul around? Norman asks him why, and Peter balls up his fist. No reason! Norman tells him that this isn't like him, and Peter tells him, no, it's not. It's more like you! Peter begins to walk closer, asking him, why do I tolerate your existence, Norman? I didn't realize it until my mind caught fire. It's because I know that someday you're gonna show your true colors, and then I'll get a chance to do what I should have done years ago. Peter grabs Norman by the collar. Please, stop this! We're friends, Peter! But Peter throws him across the room. Friend? Do you think I've forgotten about what happened? Peter punches Norman over and over. What mercy did you show Gwen? Answer me that! After several bloody hits later, Norman sputters on blood. None. I showed her none. And I live in hell because of it. I won't let you do this! Peter can feel the nagging voice of the goblin in the back of his mind telling him to go. They have other pressing matters to deal with. Peter delivers one final thundering crack to Norman. Ah, this feeling. It's why you did everything, isn't it, Norman? I thought it was a fluke when I buried Kraven alive, but it's not. The people who hurt me, it feels good to hurt them back. I'm gonna get all of them. I'm gonna throw Otto in a nuclear reactor. I'm gonna feed Eddie his own brain. But first, I need to pay a visit to Paul and Mary Jane. Leave them alone, Peter. Peter leans down. I wish I could. But when I think about throwing Paul off the top of a bridge, or seeing if MJ can catch him with her fancy new powers, I gotta say, it makes me smile. Yes! A short while later, down in the Holland Tunnel, MJ and Paul sit in a traffic jam as Paul says that he knew they should have taken the bridge. Can they really believe all the stuff that Norman is saying? MJ sighs. She isn't sure. It's Norman Osborn. He's not exactly a stranger to paranoia. But it's like they say, paranoia doesn't mean no one's out too. At that moment, there's a booming sound coming down the tunnel as Paul notices cars being flipped behind them. He tells MJ to get down, and then there's an explosion as Peter jumps out, sending his hundreds of thousands of spider drones out to wreak havoc. But before he could reach MJ, he's suddenly struck. Meanwhile, back in the graveyard, there's a glimmer of light shining through the disturbed soil, and Kraven sees something. He grabs a hold of his spear, and he begins to pull himself out of the ground. Back in the tunnel, Peter pulls himself out of his hole, and when he looks up, the Goblin Queen tells him, "This is not your destiny!" And back in the graveyard, Norman is helping Kraven out, stating the same thing, finishing it with, "And you're going to help me put it right." Peter Parker has finally gone over the deep end. What's going to happen next? Make sure you like and subscribe and you'll find out, because this is to be continued.